I still maintain it's one of my favourite jingles. Good afternoon and welcome to Championship Rugby League with Craig Lingard. Hello, Craig. Are you well, mates?
I'm very well, a bit burnt and pink. I've been out in sun for the last couple of days, but other than that, I'm great.
Yeah, we've got to watch this weather, mate. We've got to watch this weather, me and you. Absolutely. There's no shade up there, is there? Happy days, mate. Happy days. But no, great to have you coming in. Look, let's get straight into it's a great day for the game of rugby league today. Origin Game 1 is about to kick off as we record this in half an hour's time. You'll be catching it when you get back from your work from today. Are you you're a rugby league fan as well as being a coach in rugby league. You live and breathe the game. How excited do you get when Origin comes round?
Yeah, it's great, and it's one of them. It's one of them occasions. I think from an outsider rugby league, if you want to generate some interest in rugby league from people that don't know anything about it, you just show them Origin, don't you? You show the contacts and the contests and the hype around it, and it's that tribal warfare of state versus state and mate versus mate from the same teams and whatnot. And it is one of them occasions where, a bit like every game of rugby league, what happens on the field stays on the field, and at the end of the game, mates become mates again. But for that 80 minutes, it's Blues versus Maroons, and it's out and out war, and it's an absolute prime time spectacle.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely incredible. I mean, it really is. I mean, we were talking about it on the show last night as well, in terms of the spines that are going to be on show in this game. I mean, they pit the sides. I mean, Kalen Pong. I mean, the Maroons. Kalen Ponga is there. Cameron Munster, Sam Walker. That's a bit of a one. Congratulations to Sammy. Of course, heritage wise, maybe he's edging.
We could have had him, mate. We could have had him.
Yeah, it could have, couldn't we? Sammy Walker. Be interested to see how he goes. Harry Grant, Melbourne Storm, and Max Playfair, who's been really good for the Dolphins this year, it has to be said. And then on the other side, big shock, James Tedesco over Dylan Edwards. That was a surprise. But Tedesco's got the nod. Obviously, Staggs in for Latrell Mitchell, who's, of course, injured for this one. Mitchell Moses and, of course, Nathan Cleary. They're the 6 and 7. Reece Robson of the Sydney Roosters, he's at 9. And, of course, Isaiah Yeo at 13. We talk about spines. I mean, let's be fair, Craig. You'd love either of them, turning out for Sheffield, wouldn't you?
I'd take one player out of them, mate, to turn out for Sheffield.
You'd certainly get a better crowd.
I'm not greedy.
Imagine crowd for that. Yeah, we've got Nathan Cleary on loan.
Yeah.
If you couldn't market that, then there'd be something wrong, mate. There'd be something wrong. But hey, come on. People are wondering, are you a maroon or are you a blue? What are you, mate?
I'm a blue, mate. Always been a blue. Yeah, it's one of them. I think with the 88 Great Britain tour over to Australia, I think it was. My dad actually went over, and when he came back, he brought loads and loads of jerseys back, and he brought a blue and he brought a maroon, and my brother had first pick and he picked maroon. So obviously, by process of eliminations, I picked blue, and I've been blue ever since.
Sometimes fate, it's a wonderful thing, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing. Well, let's get into some Championship Rugby League. I'll ask you about the Challenge Cup before we go off later on. Of course, another great occasion for the game of Rugby League. And, Craig won't be joining me, which is, I'm not going to forgive him for that. But he is coming to Magic Weekend, which is going to be great. Oldham, I saw this this week, it might have been in League Express. David Bottomley coming out and saying that they need 2,000 fans through the gate, as do all championship clubs. It's not that easy, is it? And what caught my eye as well was what's going on at Batley, because for me, and I know it's more difficult for Oldham because of the ground, and I get that. But then you read at Batley, they've got this music event that they're doing to generate, people at the ground. They've got the boxing that they're doing. It's not just about trying to. And again, that's good from a community perspective, because you're bringing boxing fans, music fans into Batley, which gives you an opportunity of doing a bit of promotion around the rugby league side. It's almost like, for me, two different strategies there. And I appreciate Oldham have got a difficulty with the ground, but it's not that easy to just put the onus on the fans, is it? A, you've got to produce a product, and B, we're now in an age where, and we're seeing this in Super League, where you've got to be a little bit more than just a rugby league game to draw in that extra crowd, haven't you?
100%, and obviously I'm a bit more qualified than some to be able to speak about Batley and the difficulties in getting people up there week in, week out. And when you're talking about, I guess, inclusivity and family environments, is not a bigger or better club, I guess, within Championship or within Rugby League than Batley. It's anybody who's been up there knows it's a great day. It's very, very welcoming. It's very, very homely, and it's one of the old school grounds of the rugby league. But no matter what they've done in the past, it's been very, very difficult to generate new supporters there. So you've got to think outside the box, and Batley own their own ground, and that's a massive tip that they've got, that they can use that facility. And I think what all rugby league clubs have got to do, if you own your own ground, is think about how you can use that facility for more than 13, 14 times a year. Because effectively, historically, rugby league, that's what they've done. They've used the ground 13, 14 times per year for games, and then it's just sat there for most of the year, unless you're in Super League and it's a professional environment and they're getting things going on there during the day. So you've got to look outside the box. And I know Batley have done a couple of concerts previously just to get, I guess, dip the toe in the water to try and see how successful it can be, and do some of the little, I guess, troubleshooting things about, if we go a little bit bigger, what do we need to do? What can we learn from this? And that's what they're doing this year. They're pushing that a little bit more, which I think it's a real good idea. And as you say, it brings new people to the facility, to the environment that ordinarily wouldn't set foot through the gate. And then if you can get them through the gate, they become familiar with the environment. There's no guarantee that they're going to come and watch a rugby league game, but if they know where it is and they know what's happening there, you've got more of an opportunity to generate some interest. It might be that if you get 2,000 people coming to a concert there, then you can give them a flyer for the next 3 or 4 home games and give them a discount ticket to come through. If they pay 20 quid and you get the next four games for 20 quid, you might get them to come in. And once they start coming, that's the hard battle. But where clubs do struggle, when it's not their facility, they have not got the rights over what happens and when happens, and they're relying on paying a lot of money to play there. That's a difficult part of it. So you take away a bit of an income stream from you as a club.
Yeah, it's not for me to tell the chairman of Batley a marketing strategy, but what we know is that boxing is a contact sport. People who are going to go to a boxing match like a little bit of biff, and of course rugby league. There's no bigger biff than rugby league in terms of the hits that get put on. So there's an opportunity here pre the boxing event to have a screen up and to showcase rugby league, in that contact element of it. Because, the try element, yes, but what's going to appeal to a boxing fan is that real intensity, that real, toe-to-toe that goes on in a rugby league game, and it lends itself perfectly. So I just hope that that's a strategy on the day, that, the big screens are utilised to between fights to showcase the combative nature of rugby league. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And they've already got a screen down there of Batley, so it wouldn't really necessarily take a great deal of work to do. They've got their own social media down there. They can put, like you said, a package together, compilation stuff together of the tries, the big hits, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about Batley. It can just be rugby league in general.
Absolutely.
It can be it can be state of origin, it can be NRL, it can be Super League, it can be whatever it needs to be. But it's just something there to, I guess, tickle people's fancies about introducing maybe some people to rugby league, or reintroducing people to rugby league, because throughout the last sort of 20, 30 years, I guess there's a couple of generations there that have either gone by the wayside or historically came to rugby league and for whatever reason have drifted away. So it's about getting people back into that habit of coming to rugby league.
Well, I've got some great ideas for him, mate. Get me in touch with him. Like I say, you could almost see it. Rugby league hits differently. So a boxer hitting and then a big collision. We have knockouts as well, but ours are tries, and then some spectacular tries in the corner, and really package it in a way that you're talking a boxing language, but you're comparing and contrasting the different. Yeah. I just think it worked well, and you never know, it might just spark a bit of, that looks a bit interesting, doesn't it? Then, as you say, you do the marketing gimmick in terms of come and watch a game, yada yada, and who knows what that could do for Batley. Dave Hewitt will, of course, be overseeing Salford between now and the end of the season. And a good result the weekend, mate. Let's get into the weekend. Let's do a couple of the weekend games. Salford, good win that.
Yeah, it's an outstanding win, especially with the deficit that they were finding themselves in. They scored 4 tries real late on in the game, and took the game basically from a losing position into a winning position. And I think we've already talked about this in the Championship. If you get a couple of quality players in that come in from Super League, which they managed to get a couple in from St Helens. George Woodby sounds like
he was exceptional, mate.
Yeah, he had a real hand in that victory. It just shows that if you can get access to a couple of quality players from Super League and they drop down, it just means that for a team like Salford, who are in that rebuilding process at the minute, you sprinkle a couple of quality players in there, and it makes a massive difference. And we played Salford not so long back. And I guess in terms of what they lacked on that particular day in depth quality, they had a group there, a group of players that went for 80 minutes. You know, they were fighting, they were competing, they went from minute 1 to minute 80. And if you can add a sprinkling of quality within that and maintain that fight that they've got, then they're going to win games. And that's what happened against Halifax at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and let's be fair, Halifax they've had some good results over the course of the, since they've had the points deduction, and it looked as if they were building, but then they're getting a bit rocky again. But Whitby, I mean, there's obviously with the Jackson Hastings ban that's coming, albeit I think that he'll only miss the Leeds game because, of course, this bit around reserve fixtures count towards one of your bans. That loophole will be there. So I'd only expect him to miss the one as opposed to two. I presume that St. Helens, I know Warrington have got a reserve game this week, so I presume St. Helens are the same. So he'll miss one. So Whitby probably will be back in the St. Helens picture potentially. And on that performance, absolutely rightly so as well. But yeah, well done to Salford. Incredible, really, Salford at this moment in time. They're just progressing steady away. I don't think those Salford supporters at the start of the season would have envisaged that they would be doing as well as they are. And I know they're only on 8 points, and I know they've only won 4 games out of the 12. But for Salford, from where they were at the start of this season, that is to be celebrated within the corridors of Salford, isn't it?
No, absolutely. I agree. I think we talked about Salford at the start of the season. We knew it was going to be difficult for them. I think we actually said at the start of the year, if they can win 4 or 5 games, they've had an exceptional year. From where they started, where they basically had no team and they're chucking players together. If they can get 4 or 5 victories, and they've had an outstanding season. Now they've already got 4. There's half of the season left to go, and I think what they're doing is they're steadily building. They're laying them foundations. They're bringing people in like Kieran Dixon in permanently, and they've got access to some quality Super League players, either from Saints or they brought several in from Warrington previously as well. So they've obviously got the relationships there, them contacts there, and I think what they're doing is they're looking at building for longer term, which is what they need to do. And hopefully at the start of next season, then that stability and that quality they can get players in of their own and be there permanently, and then have a real good crack at it next season. I think that's what they're looking at doing.
And the mad thing is, we'll just jump forward to this weekend. They're going to North Wales this weekend. Now, let's be honest, North Wales have had their own problems. And at this moment in time, I would expect Salford, for me, especially when you consider the result that Batley had at the weekend. I mean, just 110 points to 10. We're not saying much about that, albeit well done to Batley, very professional performance. Congratulations on doing what you did. But on a scoreline like that, 100-point difference, you'd expect Salford to go, unless Salford go into themselves and take it for granted, you would expect another win there for Salford, and all of a sudden they're on 10 points, and they're only just outside playoff position. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute Salford are going to be a playoff team, but like I say, incredible for Ryan Briley and all the team down there at Salford in terms of getting the feel good factor back and starting to build again. It's a real positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think where Salford might struggle more longer term this season is they're actually the number 1 ranked team. Correct. So effectively they've got the most difficult fixtures of the lot, so it's going to, they've obviously drawn North Wales outside their 5 above 5 below as their outside fixtures as well. So you'd expect them to win that game, but there's going to be some difficult games coming up. But if they can keep making steady progress, and we all know that confidence breeds confidence, and the more games that you win, the more consistent you get at winning as well, then, there's nothing saying they can't have a real good dig and a push towards the playoffs for the end of the season.
No, mate. I mean, it would already go down as a successful season at Salford from where they started now. And as you say, I think they'll pick up more scalps as they go through the season. Now, Doncaster were going really well, really, really well. Then they get knocked out the 1895 Cup to London the week before. And then they're asked to back up against Barrow in midweek. Barrow doing them 36 points to 12 at Doncaster. And of course, Barrow, the opposite, they had to back up on the weekend, and they got 2 wins from 2, a 36-22 win against Dunslow. Let's go the positive for Barrow first. What a week for Barrow. 2 very, very good scalps, especially the Doncaster one. And that puts them up to 4th now with those back-to-back wins. A good week to be a Barrow fan. Yeah,
they're a very good team, Barrow. I mentioned before about Barrow that, they maintain that consistency throughout the team, and they make very few changes, particularly in the spine. They've got some quality players that like to play a decent brand of rugby as well. And if you catch them on a good day and everything sticks, and they'll put points on you, and they've got some dangers across the park. Halfbacks are quality. pace on the edge, strong combative middles as well. So they've got a real good blend, a real mix of a decent team. You know, so they're gonna challenge anybody. And Barrow are our next game after the Challenge Cup. Then we've got a weekend off, and then we travel away to Barrow. So I'll be watching a few of their games over the next week or so.
Well, it's like George at your gas, George Griffin. What's going on with Joe Bullock? He's suddenly a try scorer.
Yeah, I know.
Incredible.
Well, he started off as a winger, didn't he? He started off as a winger.
His body shape's changed a lot since then, mate. Is what I would say on that one. But no, great to see Joe Bullock, firing in some tries. Absolutely fantastic. Look, it was a week last week of blowout scores in the Championship. And we haven't seen many weeks like that this year. You know, Dewsbury 32-6 against Workington, the Thunder putting 62-10 against Goole, of course, your game, 72-10 against London. We're going to get weeks like that because of the scheduling and the fixtures. Within that, probably not a lot of surprises in terms of results, would you say? It was pretty much probably surprising in terms of some of the size of the scores, but not necessarily the results.
No, I think if you went down with a marker and you went down the fixture list, you'd have probably got them all right, I would imagine, wouldn't you? But like you say, yeah, so maybe some of the blowout scores were impacted. Maybe the weather impacted on that as well, with the fitness and the strength of the squad against squad. It were a difficult weekend for several teams this weekend, wasn't it?
It was, mate. I mean, so let's pick out perhaps the two better games as opposed to. I mean, obviously we spoke about Salford, a brilliant win, 34-28 against Halifax. That was an absolute peach. Barrow, we've already said, brilliant two bats and two hard-fought wins as well. We must say that about Barrow. They were not, they had to fight hard, especially the Hunslet one. That could have gone either way at times. But Rochdale 36, Swinton 32, and I think this is another. I mean, defensively shocking, 36-32, but. Against Swinton, from where Swinton have come from, they're competing again, aren't they, Swinton? They are now starting where they weren't at the start of the season. They're now getting into that bracket of, this isn't going to be an easy afternoon, boys. Murray's got them playing well, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And we've mentioned over the last few weeks, I think that the players that they've brought in, the experienced players, have certainly helped them get that I guess that knowledge and that experience about getting them over the line and making them competitive in games. And I think we both maybe mentioned that maybe Swinton were the favourites last week based on the run of form that they had and the run of form that Rochdale had in the league. I know they got the win the previous week in the 1895 Cup against Goole, but certainly in terms of league form, Swinton had the edge there. But I bet it was a close game as we thought it was going to be. But Rochdale managed to get over the line, and they'll be delighted to get back on the winning board after losing several games on the bounce in the league.
100%. Josh Eaves is catching my eye at Swinton. I think he's having a really good season, isn't he? And I think he's a player that just gets them on the front foot, doesn't he?
Yeah, and again, he's come through a good stock. He's come through Super League background. He's played Super League, played a lot of Championship over the years as well. Took a little bit of time out of the game as well, but you can't take away that quality and that experience, and he certainly adds value to Swinton when he's playing.
I think the only thing that will disappoint Anthony Murray is the fact that they should have probably won. I mean, when you go out to a 20-0 lead, did they start to fall in love with themselves a little bit? I don't know, but I mean, the bottom line is, credit to Rochdale. They really did chime back in that second half, and it was too little, too late. From 20-0 up to 36-20 down. I mean, it's the thing of nightmares as a coach, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But we've seen it over the last couple of weeks. There were two games last week where the big deficits were overcome, and then as what we've already mentioned about Salford coming back late against Halifax, and then this game as well. So it just shows that if you're consistent in what you're doing and you're relentless in what you're doing, and you carry on performing and executing the skills that you need to execute, it's never too late. Even at a 20-point deficit, you can claw that one back if you keep doing the right stuff.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And then over to Cumbria, another great Cumbrian afternoon of rugby league. Whitehaven 16, Keighley 14. The Whitehaven public will be delighted with that to get a win. Hard fought game of rugby league between these two. Again, a game that Whitehaven got off to a great start, well done, and then found themselves behind first section before getting that all-important 2-pointer to win 16-14. Just a traditional game of rugby league. I can imagine that, it was one for the purists probably, but again, a good win for Whitehaven.
Yeah, well, I think if I'm Keithley, I'm a little bit dirty on that final penalty goal. I thought it was just a stone cold drop. I thought it were a poor decision personally, and I'd be a little bit dirty on that decision. But I think the goal kicking was the difference in that game. Where it five goals, one try to Whitehaven and 3 tries to Keithley.
Yeah,
and
absolutely,
a discipline cost Keithley, and that one with the penalty goals that they got. But certainly the last one I'd have been dirty on that decision.
Yeah, well, it was Walker 16, wasn't it? Keithley 14. He scored all the points today. Well done to Walker is what I would say on that one. But no, look, I mean, it was one of those weeks in the Championship where quite a lot of blowout scores. So a great week for Barrow, brilliant week. If they could wrap that up and put it under the Christmas tree, they would. An absolutely superb week for Barrow. Well done to them. London still top on 24 points. Then behind them on 20, Newcastle, Oldham, and Barrow, as I've said, in 4th. Then it's the Widnes Vikings on 18. It's then Doncaster and Sheffield, 16 apiece. Midland now on 15. Midland, they're going through a bit of a ringer as well. Of course, Oldham, a good win for them, 30 points to 10 for Oldham in that game. Dewsbury on 14 points, and then Batley on 12. That's the playoff positions at the moment, at this moment in time in the Championship. Right, we've of course been doing this with Craig now all season, and I've not asked Craig many questions about Craig and Batley and who's his favourite ground and all of that kind of stuff. So I like to promote other people that do great things in rugby league. And of course, Super League Raw does have a membership. And one of our members is a young lad called Billy Ingram, who's very, very passionate about Championship Rugby League. He actually has got a handle called 18th Man on Tour. He goes around all the grounds. He's really, really passionate about Championship Rugby League. And I tipped my mate, Mr. Lingard, the wink that he was going to be at Halifax, and would he mind spending a bit of time with young Billy? And it made Billy's day, believe you me. So rather than me ask these questions to Craig, let's pass over to Billy. This was when Billy met Craig at Halifax. It's a really good watch. Here we go.
So I'm here with Craig Lingard, coach of the Sheffield Eagles. How are we, Craig?
I'm very well, mate. Excited for tonight.
Yeah, it should be a very good game. Very good game. So I've just been telling Craig, as I'm a Batley lad, born and bred, and he's one of the adopted sons. What was it like playing at Batley?
Yeah, I loved it, mate. Really, really good. Spent all my playing career there, 10 years there as a first team player, and retired at 30. I'd had enough, my body had had enough, and didn't really want to play anywhere else after that as well. I'd dropped down the pecking order a little bit in my last season, and rather than dropping down the divisions and playing a little bit longer, I thought that'll do me. And I enjoyed every minute there. I had opportunities to leave and go elsewhere, but the club had such a family feel, just such a great vibe to be around, and great people there. There's some that I'm still friends with today as well. So it's 1 in a million club.
That's brilliant. No, really good to hear. I think it still has that family feel about it now, doesn't it? With Kevin in charge and everything.
It does, and that's a big selling point. Is that certainly for players, they don't get paid the greatest amount of money at Batley, so it's got to have some sort of pull there, and having that family feel. Players taking the wives, girlfriends, and the kids there and making a real big day of it. It's a massive draw for people.
Definitely, and you've got your own terrace there as well, haven't you? The Craig Lingard terrace behind the sticks.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I'm going to put a campaign out for a roof on it as well at some point, but I don't think Kevin will stretch that.
Oh no, not quite. No. So I mean, out of all the players you played with then at Batley, who would you say is that you fit like the best, but also then your favourite to play with?
There's a few that spring to mind. Obviously, Glenn Tomlinson's one. Legend of a player, legend of a bloke as well. Spent some time with Tom over in Australia when me and Mitch went over there 2 decades ago now.
Wow.
One of the most naturally gifted players that I played with Dean Lawford, who's some miles is playing today as well.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. He was, the things that he could do with the rugby league ball were just unbelievable. But then, some other players like Paul Harrison, who I'm still a great mate of, and other players, Richard Price, and people that ilk who were in and around the team when I first got there as a young sort of 19-year-old kid. And so a lot of good blokes, a lot of good people that I played with.
Yeah, fantastic. Great to hear. And obviously, now coaching Sheffield, and obviously been a bit of news with Sheffield over the last few weeks that you've moved grounds down to share with Sheffield FC, and first game next Sunday. What can sort of anyone expect from that new ground?
I think it's a real nice ground. I think it's an ideal ground for rugby league. The capacity is just over 2,000. There's 3 stands in there as well with with roofs on as well. So if you get people underneath them stands, that noise will get out there as well. A little bit different to where we've been playing previously. It's a bit open, so you can't really keep the atmosphere in there. But it's a beautiful little ground. I think if anybody's seen the work that's been going on, if you go onto the social Facebook pages and see the work that's going on down there, you can see that the pitch is coming on nicely. So they've put no stand up there as well. There's a pub at the side of the ground as well. So what more do you need?
Well, exactly. No, fantastic. That's brilliant, is that, Craig? Thank you.
My pleasure.
So, Craig, as you know, you're here with the 18th man on tour who goes around reviewing all the grounds. What's your favourite ground to play at?
Oh, play a difficult one. Favourite ground to coach at Wembley. Yeah,
Of course.
yeah, I deal with that one.
Bar the result.
Yeah, but still a great day. I've always liked Whitehaven. I've got a soft spot for Whitehaven. I always like going up there. The people up there are genuine rugby league people. It's always been a good place to go.
Yeah, no, fantastic. What ground would you say has got the best pie?
Best pie battler, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Hague's Farm Shop, for those of you that don't know, other pies are available. What ground would you say has got the nicest pint?
Nicest pint?
Nicest pint, yeah.
Oh, pint. Oh, God, as long as you sell Guinness anyway.
Good answer. Were there any ground that you used to dread going to as a player?
Not necessarily dread, but Featherstone. All my family were Featherstone fans.
Yeah.
I was a Featherstone fan growing up, so I always went in there as the enemy. And when I did have hair, I got my hair pulled there. I was on one of the games.
Yeah, good ground is Featherstone. Fingers crossed they can come back for next season. And have you got sort of any great standout memories from any particular ground that you played at?
I've got to say Batley. I've obviously played all my career there. I think one of the early memories was I think Dewsbury had dominated the Batley and Dewsbury games for a number of years previous, and we played them on a Good Friday evening, won 14-12, and it was the day that was good for me. I scored an hat-trick on that particular day, and
Fantastic.
The atmosphere and all the fans at that particular time outside the changing room just singing songs and the noise and the volume. The first time we've beat Dewsbury in a long time, so that was memorable for me, certainly as a younger player coming in.
Oh, definitely brilliant. Right, thanks very much.
So there you go. When Billy met Craig, I tell you, he can set the boy out of Batley. Deary me, I don't know how many plugs Batley got in that, but what made me giggle was Featherstone's a great ground. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to turn Featherstone fans off, but steady away. It's always on that one. But no, Billy's a good lad, isn't he? He's a good lad, Billy.
He is, yeah. And I mentioned to you previously when I was talking to him, his dad owned a few of the watering holes in Batley that I frequented once or twice on a Sunday after the game as well. Yeah,
I mean, obviously delighted to meet yourself as well. And look, we need people like Billy. You know, he is absolutely out and out a Championship Rugby League man. I mean, he's on our, even this morning. Bless his cotton socks. What about the Wembley? And we'll talk Wembley now. What about Wembley this on Saturday and the fact that it's going to be probably about 5,000 fans down. He said, "There you go. That's the value of the 1895 Cup being played at Wembley." That's where he's gone with it. Straight away because let's be fair. How many fans would, if it was a London Widnes final? How many fans do London take to that? How many fans the Widnes take to that? He's probably not far off. It could have been another 5,000 in the stadium. Of course, the RFL will say, but it's the cost of the stadium and all the logistical stuff. But it just highlights how passionate Billy is for Championship Rugby League. And like I say, if we're going to grow Championship Rugby League, or certainly give it a better footing, champions like Billy are vital. Yeah, they are, and I think it's certainly for me as well, coming from a championship perspective myself. I've spent probably 95% of my career involved in championship, and there's a lot of great things that happen in and around championship clubs, and you take away that full-time aspect and the professional aspect of it, and you see the real qualities of rugby league with the volunteers at the ground, volunteers on game day, volunteers day after game day, picking up rubbish and litter and all sorts of stuff, doing the cleaning jobs that nobody wants to do, that saves championship clubs a hell of a lot of money throughout that 12-month period of the year. And I think you really see the genuine, I guess, the historic traditional side of rugby league within the championship. I think championship and Super League are two completely different games, and I think there's a market for both of them games as well. I'm a massive advocate of Championship Rugby League myself. It gave me basically the career that I've had within rugby league. It means that I've been able to leave
my job in the prison service and make a career within rugby league full time, which has been massive for me and massive for my family as well. So I think there's a lot of good things within Championship Rugby League, and the more people that see that, the better for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you'll be seeing Billy again. Well, you will be at Magic. He's with us when we go to Magic Weekend. Let's talk Wembley. We're not going to go into. We've said enough on Super League Raw about the fiasco that was Thursday. That said, Matt Peters has put in a strategy here of resting on a wider scale than we've ever seen. We have to say that it has been done before. It's been done by Warrington. It's been done by OKR back in 2023, and of course both lost. So is it right? Is it wrong? And what I did say, and again from a coaching perspective, be interesting to get your point on this. We looked at the tail of the tape. Wigan in the last 5 have only won 2. OKR are on an incredible winning streak at this moment in time. Based on Wigan's current form, should they have played a full team to just try and get a bit of momentum and just try? I mean, it's that old adage: what is the best thing to do? If you were as a coach, what would you have done, or what would you do if your team was a bit out of form, but you're going into a final? Would you be more inclined to go, no, we need to get some form, we need to get some synergy, or would you?
Yeah, I guess it's each to their own, isn't it? I've always been one of them people that makes limited changes, limited rotations. If a team's winning and a team's playing well, then you want to maintain that consistency, that continuity. You want to, I guess, reward people for playing well and create that competition for places where, if you're just rotating round players left, right and centre every now and again, there's no reward there for actually playing well, because you know that if you play well or not, somebody else might come in for a game and get a shot. So I've always been somebody who's rewarded people playing well and tried to maintain that consistency. I think if you're coming up to a real important game like a Challenge Cup final and you've got somebody that's 70 or 80% fit or has been carrying a little bit of a knock or a bit of a niggle, then yeah, you can pull them back a little bit and give them a week off and give them that rest. So they might be 90% fit for the Challenge Cup final after a week's rest. But I think when you have wholesale changes like that, particularly when you're not in form, it's a difficult one. But likewise, if they'd have played a full strength team against OKR, would they have gone there and won? Probably highly doubtful as well. I guess from Matt Peace's point of view, I can 100% understand why he's done what he's done. He's protected the players for what he deems as a more important game as a Challenge Cup final.
Speaking of some of the players, we are expecting that Noah Hodkinson and Jack Farriman will probably play in the Challenge Cup final. Hodkinson on the wing and Farriman, of course, at standoff. I had the privilege of interviewing Robbie Hunter-Paul a couple of weeks ago, and he said that back in '96 when he walked out at Wembley, it was the old Wembley, grant you, but when he walked out at Wembley, he said with every step that he made out of that tunnel towards the lineup, his legs got heavier and heavier. He said he never felt anything like it. They have got. It's going to be really interesting. We know that Wigan produce quality players, and the mindset of Wigan players tend to be good. But this is the next test, isn't it? Zach Eckersley back against Warrington a couple of years back, passed that test superbly well. This time around, it's Hodkinson and Farriman. Firstly, how impressed have you been with them in terms of the development so far, and how do you think they'll handle the occasion?
I think in terms of development so far, I think they've been great. I think maybe for Jack Farriman, his next development is defensively winning more contacts. I think he gets bumped off a little bit too often when people get at him. Certainly with the ball, he's a massive threat. He takes them short sides real well, gets over the advantage line, creates one-on-one contests. Hodkinson again, I always played on the wing and I was played at fullback as well. He's been certainly a threat carrying the ball and returning the ball from yardage, which I weren't necessarily expecting that. I know the pace that he's got and the threat that he's got within good ball areas, but actually clearing his line, clearing his yardage area with the carries that he's done, I think he's been absolutely tremendous. In terms of handling the occasion, I think they're a different breed now. Younger kids when they're coming through, particularly at places like Wigan and the clubs that I guess that they acclimatise the players to the big occasions. Whereas previously, when you're walking out of the old Wembley or the end of the year, the showpiece event at the end of the year, weren't it? It's one of them. I guess there's more opportunities nowadays that you're playing on in bigger grounds, you're playing in bigger occasions more often. When you've been at a team like Wigan, they will have been at finals already. They'll have been in the change rooms in finals, whether they're playing or not. They will have been in and around the squad. in the build up to big finals, and they'll know how to handle that. And I think when you're playing for Wigan in front of 10, 12,000 every week or whatever it might be, then you're used to playing that. And I think it's a big occasion, but at the end of the day, it's a game of rugby league on a patch of grass.
It is. Do you know what? As you've just been talking there, you're spot on. You know, back in the day, you know, even Wigan, Central Park, Knowsley Road, you know, there's a big difference between the historic rugby league grounds and walking out of Wembley Stadium. You're right. You know, it's not a carbon copy anymore, is it? In that
no,
respect?
It's not. No, because a lot of the modern grounds now, they're built like football stadiums. You know, so like I said previously, if you're playing at, I know we mentioned Featherstone earlier on, a real old school ground at Featherstone where everything's on top of you and it's a little bit smaller, or some of the other grounds that you would have played on in teams in the old first division. But then you come out to Wembley in front of 90,000 people or whatever it might be. The Twin Towers or whatever the historic Wembley ground. It's completely different to that, you know. So I think players are more accustomed now to playing in these big stadiums, and you know, it's a bigger stadium as Wembley, but effectively it's a cut and paste model, albeit a little bit bigger than a lot of the stadiums they're playing in already. Absolutely
great. This is what I love chatting to you about. You know, I hadn't even thought of that, but you're like, as you were saying, yeah, you know what? Absolutely not. Yeah, it was to walk out of Wembley back in the day. That was something that was different gravy compared to every week. And the difference is, of course, you don't get to play in front of 60,000 every week, so that's still maintained. But it's a great shout, mate. Outstanding. We're going to be treated to arguably the two best sevens in the comp. And there'll be people saying, well, you know, what about the likes of Sneed? What about the likes of certainly Jackson Hastings and the start he's had, Jake Connor as well. But I think Tyrone May has proved time and time again that he doesn't get the headlines. He just goes about his business really well. Let's not forget it was his kick last year that got that Tom Davies opportunity that he scored. And Harry Smith is, for me, easily the best game manager in rugby in Super League by a street. I mean, he just. I mean, that trial, I mean, you saw yourself, the try the other week where he just popped the little pitching wedge over for the Wardle try.
Yeah. Where
it literally, you either ice it or it's going nowhere. And he just nailed it on the run. Incredible. These two are so pivotal for me. I mean, we'll talk Lytton and Lewis in a minute because I think Jez Lytton, the stage is set for Lytton here on Saturday. But these two players, especially on a hot Wembley pitch, their game management and their ability to control the game is going to be vital. And I, for one, as a purist, and I know you'll be the same, their craft, I'm going to be really interested to see on Saturday.
Yeah, I think more so Harry Smith is more important. It's more important that he plays well. Because I think if you look at the rest of the players around Hull KR in and around their spine, I think they've got a little bit more creativity, potential than what Wigan have. So I think it's really important that Harry Smith manages the game. He kicks well. He gets Wigan around the field, does what he needs to do well. And I think if he plays well, Wigan have got a real good shout at winning the game. I think if he's a 6 out of 10 at the weekend, then I think Hull KR certainly win the game.
How important is that coin toss? You know, it's going to be a hot day. You know, feel that territory, the ability to turn the other team around to get them tired early doors. How important is the coin toss, do you think, on Saturday in hot conditions?
I don't think it's important at all, to be fair. You know? I really don't know. I don't think it matters one bit.
If you won the coin toss, what would you do as coach? What would you be advising? Receive or kick?
I personally, I would kick. I think for me, how you play in a final is determined by how you defend and your attitudes towards defence. So I would certainly be kicking off and putting the marker down to my team. Look, let's have a real good physical, disciplined defensive set and make them kick from their own 40-metre area. And if you do that, then you start winning that territory battle anyway. I think if you start loose and you start sloppy and the opposition gets to halfway line or they're kicking close to the halfway line, then they're on the front foot and you're bringing the ball out from your own try line. So I would personally set the marker down defensively. There's pros and cons to that. If you do it really, really well, then it gets you into the game. If you have a bad defensive set, then you're on the back foot. So, but that's within your control. So I'd certainly be kicking the ball to them and trying to control what you do defensively.
Yeah, and of course, you've got the Lewis and the Lytton factor. I think there's a lot of I'm seeing a lot of flowers for Jeslett, and certainly since the Ashes game, for me, I thought he was their player of the year, KR, last year. I really did. We know that he's ranked 2 at the moment for Man of Steel, based on the conversations that were had by the panel. I just think this is a game where potentially Jeslett and Yetta takes that next step and potentially is a Lance Todd Trophy winner. I think this could be his day. Could be wrong, but I just think he's at that point now where he really is grabbing games by the scruff of the neck when he's on the field. And if he was in any other team other than KR, because of course Lewis gets the headlines, then Jeslett and his headlines have probably increased by a factor of 10. He's playing so well. Do you look at it the same way that the stage is set here for a Jeslett to light up Wembley?
Yeah, definitely. I think the development that he's shown and the progression that he's shown as not only a player but as a leader and I guess as a talisman for OKR over the last couple of seasons, it's absolutely massive. It's gone through the roof, and I think if the weather is as warm as it's predicted to be, I think it could play into his hands as well. Being really smart around the road that plays into his game. If the middles of Wigan are put on the back foot a little bit, and there's a couple of repeat sets and the start fatigue, and I think it's certainly a game where he can jump out from dummy half and start exposing some of the gaps that might be there. So yeah, I think he's a decent shout for man of the match in the final on Saturday.
It's going to be a hell of a final. I think Wigan's bench is probably slightly going to be stronger. Rumour has it that Jai Whitbread might not. His wife's partner is expecting a first baby, might not even travel. It looks as if Carl Lawton's going to miss the final as well. So the bench of KR is going to be coming under a little bit of strain, as opposed to Wiggins, who's we're going to expect either Partington and Ellis Mago will be on there as well. He'll be. I'm trying to think who the other one is. That'll be guaranteed. Ellis or Partington, Mago, SA potentially. They're going to have a bigger. They're going to open Sam Walters if Favell starts. So they look like they're going to have a bigger bench than KR. That again could be a factor in it. It's going to be a very interesting final. Which way are you going? Do you think it's going to be KR to retain, or do you think Wigan will continue to expand their legacy in the Challenge Cup?
Unfortunately for OKR fans, I'm siding with OKR.
So they can blame you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I did? I went as far as 12. I just think KR at the moment, when you see the two teams tail of the tape side by side, the scoring power of KR, the personnel that they've got on the field, the confidence, and I think the fact that again Pete felt the need to rest his players, Willie Peters felt the need not to, suggests a lot as well. I also went Hull KR in this one as well, so it'll be very, very interesting indeed. I know you'll be tuning in from afar. I'll be there. If you're going, we know a lot of Championship supporters will go, and you'll be wearing your colours with pride at Wembley. That's what it's all about. Super League Raw will be at the Bobby Moore statue from about 11:15 on Saturday morning. We're doing a couple of lives as well. Come and say hello to us. You may even get yourselves on camera. There's loads coming down the pipe in terms of what we'll do in and around Wembley this weekend. And we'll be back, of course, for more Championship Rugby League with Craig. Hunslet, London, North Wales against Salford. Both games on Sunday at 3:00. Both me and Craig probably would suggest that London and Salford will be favourite for those, but we'll find out next week how those games went, and we'll look forward to the next round of Championship Rugby League in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy your week off, Mr. Lingard, if you can have one of those as a coach in professional rugby league. Try and have a bit of time with your family, mate, and we'll see you next week. Good to have your time. Take care, pal.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.